Hi, this is my student. This is Shaylin Booth.
Hello.
She looked at my website for me, and
did.
now she has 3 questions she's going to share.
So my first question when I was looking at the website was so has the history of Syria always been filled with civil wars, or has it just been a recent development in the country's history?
And so, as far as I know, Syria kind of does have a history of wars, but I feel like this is the most violent war or long-lasting war because they use a lot of. This is the first time they've really used chemical war, which has really affected the people, and it has killed many children across.
So like chemical warfare, like World War I, like where they use like gases and everything.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good clarification. Awesome. My second question, granted I'm not like a development expert or anything, but I was just wondering that once you start stabilizing the country, and after like if you finally get like if the war finishes and the country starts stabilizing, how would you encourage people to innovate? Because as we know, like when the country's stable, and when people innovate, that is when new technology it comes in, and that's what helps the country develop. So how would you encourage her? That is the main question after all that long explanation.
Okay, I would encourage it personally through like encouraging education. So like as we talked about in my class a lot is through education, and you're able to provide more opportunities or windows to help people to grow and to experiment. And so if you have a more stable country and with more education, you're able to have more but you have more I want to say thoughts, but that's not really the right word. But then you'll be able to expand more with your knowledge, and then through that you can experiment. And
so would you have more of like a general education, or would you have like a specific time? Because I know with education classes that if you have more of like a very structured system, sometimes it's harder to kind of think outside the box. So how would you encourage that, like the desire to like, oh well, maybe I can learn more about this, or maybe I can do this and this and this?
Well, I would start out with a very structured education system, just because of how not structured it is now, because there's a lot of chaos within the country. And so I think in order to get that far, to have like a more creative education environment, you need to start off with something more structured so that you get that stabilization and you get that foundation, and then you can build upon that after that's laid down. Yeah.
Awesome. My third question, because I sort of have a background with some of the like fundraisers and such. So like, how would you campaign for money in order to help with the child mortality rate? Would you specifically go to people with wealth, or would you do like a mass campaign? But like, if you do a mass campaign, how would you use that money? Would you like do like 100% go directly to the kids, or would you try to get and like have like the people at the top of this organization or like charity, I'm guessing, that you will probably set up, and would you try paying them, or would it just all be volunteer work, or how would you raise money is my question.
I would kind of use like a both campaign and going towards like charities or like people with wealth in order to help, because I think everybody can help in like a little bit of a sense, and obviously I feel like those with more money can contribute more to help the cause. And so I guess altogether it would be like a mass campaign, because then you could reach out a large audience. And I would, to help people, I guess, get the money that need it, I would look towards those charities like UNICEF, because they specifically work, like they go in and face to face and see the people. And so that's what I would hopefully get done. And so hopefully to see those families that need it most to get that money directly.
Okay, cool.
Does that answer all the questions?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So the next part I'm going to teach you about the 8 developmental goals, which were created by the United Nations, and they were developed or created so that society around the world could get better, that we could have a standard to rise to, and then to make a better society and to make like a better tomorrow, specifically for those people who live in harsher environments or more third world countries. So the 8 developmental goals, the first one is eradicate extreme poverty and hunger. And so for my country specifically, I want to say over the ages, like when the 8 developmental goals were first created, Syria was doing a good job in trying to make those goals and reaching them. But then up until like 2011, when the civil war started, that's when it became more of a challenge. And so that's when really like most of the developmental goals started to digress, because the focus has been more on the war instead of helping these things individually. And so like recently, I want to say that the country is in extreme poverty because most of the people, their homes have been destroyed, and most of them don't even live in their homes anymore. Like they've gone to Lebanon or other countries surrounding Syria to find refugee camps. And so that's where Syria stands currently. The next developmental goal is achieve universal primary education. And so I want to say, again, like Syria was doing a good job, like from 1990 to 2006, the amount of children who were going to school definitely increased. But then once again, like in 2011 when that civil war hit, because like schools were destroyed and other buildings were destroyed, children aren't able to get that education that they need anymore, especially in the refugee camps, because they don't have a school in the refugee camps.
It's not a stable environment.
And so they don't have a place they can go to, and so they just kind of do their best to get by day for survival. The next one is promote gender equality and empower women. And Syria was actually, I believe, doing a good job with this. I want to say, like, more girls were starting to attend school, and women, there were like a small percentage of women participating in government, but then because of the war, women, or violence against women, has now become a tool of war. And so they've been pressured to like make sure they follow their strict traditional rules, because if they follow their strict traditional rules, then they're more like obeying, so it's avoiding conflict, or that's how they see it a lot. And then unfortunately a lot of like there's like rape and violence and kidnappings against women, and that's been used as like a tool of fear and a tool of war. And so that's been something kind of really unfortunate in that area. The next goal we have is reduce child mortality. And so again, like in the past, it was progressing well. So like infants under 1, there's only 12 deaths for every 1,000 live births. And for children under 5, there's only 15 deaths for every 1,000 births. And that was in around like 2011, 2012 area. And then once that war hit again, though, that really affected child mortality, because it affected having a place for mothers to be able to go birth their babies and to have a safe environment for their children. And so then they have like a lack of food and nutrition and having a hygienic place, I guess you could say. So there's been more diseases going around and affecting these children, and especially with the chemical warfare that's going on, the children have been most affected by that. And so that's been really unfortunate to see. The next one is improve maternal health, and that kind of goes along with reduce child mortality.
It goes in segues really well.
Yeah. And so with improving maternal health, it was going well, and there was less mothers dying, and antenatal coverage was increasing greatly. It was up to 84% in 2008.
And what's antenatal?
Antenatal is like your health, I guess, before the baby's born, and so that's a lot of like making sure you have the right environment and like the mother's not so stressed so that the baby can develop properly, or that the mother has the right nutrition she needs to get to the baby so that the baby can develop well in the womb. So yeah, that's pretty much antenatal care.
Okay.
But then again, with the war, and then that's kind of destabilized the environment, and there's not hospitals anymore, or at least a lot of hospitals that they can turn to, unless they go to like places that are far away. And like they do in the countries that do surround Syria, like they do have hospitals, but with so many refugees, it's hard to encompass everything that everybody needs. And so maternal mortality rate is kind of increasing because health and environment is kind of decreasing in itself. Yeah. And then we have the next goal is combat HIV and AIDS and malaria and other diseases. And so with the Civil War, that has kind of increased greatly because, especially in the refugee camps, because people have been so compacted with each other and they don't have a place to really, I guess one thing that's had a large influence is that human waste is just kind of in the middle of the streets everywhere, and so that's been having a large impact on the health of people, and especially because they can't get fresh water where they're at most of the time, so that they're just drinking water where lots of diseases are floating in. And so then, unfortunately, then they get more sick, and then that even relates to like maternal health and child mortality rate, and that definitely influences that factor as well. We also have ensure environmental sustainability, and the environment hasn't been very stable, especially in the refugee camps, because now people are starving because they don't have a way to get fresh food, and again with the fresh water, they don't have a way to gain fresh water, and so they're kind of struggling in that department because they're lacking finding ways of how to support themselves because they've been uprooted and their home lives have been destroyed. And for even some people, like they're missing family members because they've been killed in the bombings or shootings or in the chemical warfare. And lastly, we have global partnership for development, and I think Syria needs a lot of global partnership, but then again, like it would be scary to jump in because it's a big war. I don't know how else to put it other than it's a really dangerous area, and because of the two different sides who are fighting, it's been, I guess, more harder for them to be able to reach out to make global partnerships with like different countries. Mm-hmm. I guess you could say they have partnerships with like Turkey and Lebanon. I want to say not so much Turkey because recently Turkey cut off saying no more refugees are allowed in the country. But Lebanon, as far as I know, is still open. Those are like the major refugee camps that most of the people go towards. Also, something that I found out that was interesting, I actually learned that there's no McDonald's in Syria, but that's because Syria has been put on this like dangerous list by the United States.
Interesting.
Yeah, so they're like not trustworthy, I guess you could say.
Well, they're in the middle of a civil war, so
you know, it might be hard to set up in their store there. As for the last part of our discussion, really quick, is critiquing the goals and how Syria could improve. And so I actually think I really like all the goals, and I guess there wouldn't be like any one in particular that I would add or take away because I think they encompass all your basic necessities that you need to be able to build your country and to make it better and to really innovate growth. I think Syria has a lot of room for improvement in the moment just because of the civil war that they're in, but you can't really just go in and say like, stop your war, even though I really wish I could. And so
somebody does that. Stop your war.
Yeah, that'd be easy that way.
Oh my goodness, yes.
World peace. For the future of Syria, I think currently it looks rather grim, just because if they stayed in their current state that they are in right now, there wouldn't really be any progression in Syria, and I want to say there wouldn't really be that many people living in Syria either, because who wants to live in a place where you're fighting all the time? But then again, like, that's your home, and so it would be hard to pick up and leave and move. And so, but also, I think if the war stopped today in this moment, I think there could be a lot of improvement, because they could start to piece back together their lives, and then they could look towards these goals to realize like where they need to, or where they want to go, to be able to have a more stable country. Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks.
Have any questions?
No.
Awesome.
Awesome.
I hope you guys are having a great day.